Hello and welcome to Tok Piksa. I'm Scott White standing in for Neville Choi. Now we thought we'd take you away from the usual studio interviews of Tok Piksa and take you to Misima Island in the Milne Bay province. It's been a decade since the closure of the Misima gold mine, and the people have been left with high hopes of receiving direct benefits that the mine would supposedly bring after its closure. But after all these years, their lives haven't improved in any big way. In this Tok Piksa special, Edwin Fidelis gives an insight into the plight of the Misima people after the closure of the mine.
The island of Misima lies 200 kilometers off the far eastern coastline of mainland Papua New Guinea. Over 200,000 people inhabit the island and live together in small villages along the coastlines. A one-way plane ticket to the island from Port Moresby or the provincial capital Alotau cost nearly 1,000 kina. Most of the people can't afford that. They prefer the sea route as it costs less, although it may take longer. It takes about a day by boat to travel to Alotau, but during bad weather, it may take more than 2 days. Because of the distance between Alotau and Misima, freight cost is the main expense for store owners. Store goods are sold at twice the normal price of goods sold in shops in Alotau or Port Moresby. All this represents the isolation and remoteness of the island. Subsistence farming and fishing is highly valued on the island as an income source for the people. In the late 1980s, little did the Misima people know that their lives will be changed completely after a proposed gold mining operation was to be carried out on the tiny island. In 1989, Placer Dome Pacific, a Canadian mining company, landed with their heavy machines on the shore of Misima, and between 1989 and 1990, the mine began its operations and the first ore were extracted. Stanley Negru, a local village leader, recalls the start of the mine.
When Misima Mines was coming into this country, I was with the government, national government, provincial government, and of course, Placer Dome Company, the executive directors from Canada.
When the mine came, benefits also came with it. Living standard improved, and the once subsistence gardening and fishing life of the people were replaced by a consumer economy. The people then rely on the royalties and other benefits that the mine brought about.
Because in this MOA here, we talk about national government's undertaking at this MOA here. It talks about special support grant. It talks about equity, royalties, long-term economic development plan, environmental issues, infrastructures development maintenance, local business development, training and localization, post and telecommunication, electricity, financial assistance to the landowners.
The people have access to relatively good healthcare facilities, education for their children, and other basic services. Employment opportunities increased, and almost every household has a steady flow of income.
The lifespan of 10 years of mining on Misima obviously caused a high degree of dependency on the company and its activities. Many local employees to the company, labor force dependent on the income earned from the company. throughout the area. As the mine operation development continues, the pre-existing ways of earning cash income have been allowed to decline in absolute importance.
As any other landowner group in Papua New Guinea would want, the benefits of the mine has been the center of the agreement between landowners and the mining companies and the government. And the coming of the mine appears to solve most of their problems, both socially and economically.
That during construction period, the turnover of Mishima mining, everything comes through this year. So I used to get about taking 35,000 a day.
But after the mine was closed in 2004, most of the basic services saw a gradual decline. Basic infrastructures provided by both the mine and the PNG government have dropped significantly, and concerns over destruction and pollution to the natural environment eventually became evident.
When the mine came and left, it left us with a lot of pollution, maybe you would call it. Even while during the mine, we were somehow made to believe that we will be part and parcel of the mining agreement, which never eventuated.
Because they dump tires in there, big tires, metal pylons, and cement bricks just to fill up. So right now, if you go up there working on a pit, due to sedimentation and erosion, it's almost totally covered. I think you have about the depth of about 5 meters or so. Because all that garbage, all that dump here, I'm stuck inside. Now time lick rain pun down, now landslide come down, and something, I'm go karabim, now hurry up through, I'm come on top. Now I'm stopped here. Not only that, the effect of that pit, the landslide, na kan something also, that is the headwater for this village across here called Abalona, Abe, and Gewa, just around the corner. That's where they get their water from. Not truthfully to speak. It's like, what am I time trapla rain now. It's all dead, sedimentation, everything.
When the Mishima mine closed in 2004, mining infrastructures were dismantled and taken away when the miners left. A flight over the island reveals 2 lakes in the center of the island. It is now only a reminder to the island's people that there was once a mine. Most of the people still live on the remnants of the mine with an economy driven by alluvial mining. Government service standards are below what were expected by the Mishima people, and according to Mishima people, the 20 years of mining operations on the island have let them down.
This used to be the main wharf used by the mine. Big ships come here to load several thousand tons of ore that were extracted from the mine. Today, what are left of it are pieces of rusted metals protruding from the sea.
Well, Mishima mine has been here, Pleasure Dome, Pacific. After they left the island of Mishima 2004, some of those infrastructure, like wharf, after mine gone, we come to square one. We go back to fishing, pedaling out again, and so and so. So these are just suggesting that why don't we use the infrastructure that been government spend or developer spend a lot of money to use in your papers, where tourism or even the fishing.
We were taken further up into the hinterlands of the island to the old mine site. This is what it looks like 20 years ago, and today this is what it looks like. This is one of the pits that remained almost half a decade of gold sets. Now there's nothing much left of it except a pit filled with water. Currently they are using it as a hydropower source, but the people here say it's no ordinary water. It's a water that is already being contaminated.
This area here, it was not a lake before. It has to be a pit, and it was called Tok pit. The miners dug this. It was very deep until it came to the greenstone where they cannot go any further. So they have to stopped mining in this area and they left it like this. There weren't any water before. After all these mining activities came and it went past, they began to dump some of their containers and other things beside on top of that first pit. They left this pit because they had a plan that they will use this to put up hydro. That is the reason why they never covered this area.
The Misima people, to some extent, are still depending on some of the infrastructures left behind by the mine. Most of them have already deteriorated.
When I was young, in a teenage, this place was a mining center where everything was fine, everything looks beautiful here, the buildings. And after the mine left, and what you can see now have tend to be worse or been destroyed by people. So when the mine was here, all the buildings was good and they looked fine. It was a very beautiful place with good houses, and even this house here was a very good house where all the workers come and meet. But after the mine left, you can see for how many years now, you can see how this house is now after all.
On the other end of the island, the only big health facility is struggling to cater to the people's health needs. The Misima District Hospital might seem okay on the outside, but in the inside, it has a backlog of problems to deal with. The infant mortality statistics provided by the hospital is just as bad as any other rural health centers in the country.
This is the only resuscitation equipment we have, but we needed more.
A combination of an inconsistent supply of medicines and frequent power outages on the island drives up a steady increase of infant deaths every month. The midwife at the hospital, Ellen Taukuru, says they get more than 5 pregnant women every week. She says on numerous occasions, female nurses at the hospital had to deliver pregnant women under torchlights that were bought from the trade stores.
We find it very hard when there's blackout to deliver mothers. The nurses use torches or the lanterns that they bought from the shops. But currently I think we're thinking if we needed a solar for the labor room itself.
3 babies die at the hospital every month. That might not seem much as a big number of babies dying, but at the end of each year, the hospital records 36 infant deaths. That's roughly the number of babies that were born alive every week at the Engau Hospital in Lae or the Port Moresby General Hospital.
We have birth complications with mothers. So for last year, we lost 2 mothers with birth complications, with bleeding. And there was a case that we cannot handle. The mother bled to death.
The hospital is also having problems with its staff.
Depending on the assessment of
the acting district health officer, John Matuselo, says they have been having difficulty recruiting new nursing staff to the hospital. Because of the shortage of staffs in the hospital and the frequent shortage of medical equipment, the hospital was reduced to a health center.
Currently, all the functions done here is the functions of the hospital. The grading now is now downgraded to a health center, meaning because we don't have a medical officer, so that's it has been downgraded to a health center instead of the hospital. But all the functions is of a hospital function that's performed by our officers currently.
In Okawakosi, the low-side local level government acting area manager admitted that There are little, otherwise no provincial government input in this part of the province.
Because a lot of this infrastructure were constructed during the times of the Misima mines under the tax credit scheme, TCS. And that was all controlled by the mines. They only build the infrastructures. And then we have the district support grant that is very minimal. Currently, local level government gets only about 53,125 kina. And that, what can you build out of 53,000? A classroom would cost more or less 3 times more than that amount.
When the mining activities ended, the way of life on the island returned back to normal. A combination of the distance between Misima and Alotau and the limited government funding, maintaining the standards of the infrastructures on the island haven't been successful.
For us, the local level government, I feel that we are more of spectators to that program. They're supposed to be funding programs as per the LOG Integrated Development Plan. But currently, they say about LOG being the leading sort of organization, but in reality, we are more or less spectators.
The Misima people say the mine has set a precedence for other mines in Papua New Guinea. The damages are permanent, and now the people are working to rebuild their lives back to what it used to be like 20 years ago, before the mine came. They have switched back to subsistence farming and fishing, and the landowners are also fighting a court battle over environmental damages, and the court case is now 20 years old. But to restore Misima back to its original state might take many more years.
After the closure of the Misima gold mine in 2004, the problem faced by the people began to grow. Socio-economic standards of the people have dropped significantly, and most of their lifestyles have returned to the way it used to be 20 years ago, before the mine came. The economy on the island has been kept alive by local alluvial mining, and subsistence farming and fishing practices were revived. But the Misima people are resilient. They know the government wouldn't come, not sooner. They had to be self-reliant.
Our people, after the mine left, depend on this agriculture. And this is one of the very most important cash crops we have on the island.
This is a section of more than 2 hectares of cocoa trees planted and owned by the Boyo villages along the northern coast of Misima Island.
Although it's not grown by many people, but it is very important as far as the economy is concerned on the island. And now people are resettling back, going back to their land. This commodity is very important.
The Boyo people are now trying to put back together how their lives used to be 20 years ago. Before the mine came, the Boyo people were one of the biggest producers of cocoa in the Milne Bay province.
Boyo village has the largest cocoa producers on the island. It also has a record of producing more cocoa than the mainland Milne Bay. So that's why it is very important to the people of the island.
But when the mine came, the Boyo people shifted to rely on the benefits that the mine was providing, and cocoa farming eventually came to a halt. But they are facing a much bigger problem now than before. The arrival of the cocoa pod borer slowly crept through this part of Misima and destroyed almost all the cocoa trees.
Then we take all those food crops out.
Michael Sakyasi is a DPI officer. He is leading the village group to rebuild the cocoa industry in this part of Misima.
This pot here and the beans inside are all dried already. And that's how we reduce the cocoa water production. It reduces. And most of the ponds now we can see they are all not good, all dried up. You can see this one here. These are all. It's an older one.
These youths knew if they don't work together with their community to replant healthy cocoa trees, then neither them nor their children will have nothing to sustain their lives in the years to come. Like the Boyo people, it gives a tiny snapshot of the challenges the Misima people are facing after the closure of the mine.
Before Misima mine's been making agricultural center and building this house here, base, and only building a poultry law here, and a nursery, blow seeds, only nursery, giving back all seeds to all man place, only give him planning, Karim come back, na salim lo here, alone feed him mess, lo mines, lo lagua. So that's what they've been doing. I mean, wrong good, we manage him good. He go on a time Misima mines finish, or lose him this plahap, and I give him back this house go back or mipla. Now I stop nothing, you go, how much fly yes, you go finish. Now last year that's all me talking more. Brothers Flomina clean him this place, now build him this house again.
The people say benefits promised by the national government and the mining company was never given. Over the last 2 decades, Misima Island was featured prominently in government discussions as one of the major drivers of PNG's economy. The mine came into operation to supplement Papua New Guinea's economy as it faced a threat of collapsing following the then Bougainville crisis.
Because the Bougainville was taking Papua New Guinea out. Nobody will tell the truth, the country was going off. Yeah. The country was going to die completely, no more Papua New Guinea. It was Misima, the teeny little island, that sorted the country up. Today, now you can talk Papua New Guinea. Now you can talk. What's wrong with this MOA? This MDA here. Huh? And this is the period construction begins. The Bougainville said, stuff you Papua New Guinea, we're taking you guys. Misimans, a little guy in the tail said, thank you, my good father, Bougainville. You will not take me, I am on the crocodile tail. I make sure I swim ashore. Papua New Guinea swim ashore.
But the Misima people say the government and the mining company had exploited them, and landowners are now left with big challenges. They have been struggling to convince the national government to honor their commitment they made 20 years ago.
Out of this MDA here, the mining development agreement here that was signed on that day is one of the theme of destruction that the mining terminology is based on.
The landowners have also been fighting a 20-year-old court battle that is still far from over.
All the agreements between landowners and provincial government were never honored. The agreements between the national government and the landowners were never honored. And that is why still today we are fighting for those rights. This is not a right that is, just said verbally. No, these are contractual agreements signed by the Prime Minister. You see, signed by the administrator or the governor.
They say they will continue to fight the case until they get what is rightfully theirs. But along these coastlines, there are many more people who are suffering, their stories still untold. The people say the remnants from the mine will remind the upcoming generations of Misima that there was once a mine on their island, a mine that left them little, otherwise nothing to benefit from.